This is super bubbly. I don't know if the mic is going to pick that up, but I feel like it's more bubbly than normal seltzer. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of A Rambling Yarn. I'm Emily and this is my channel where I like to talk about what is on my needles or crochet hooks or whatever my little hands seem to be doing at the moment that involves fiber or fabric or anything crafty of any kind. I think this is episode 13. I will double check on that. Doesn't really matter, it's going up there, but I want to say welcome to episode 13 of A Rambling Yarn. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. So good to have you. If you are new and you've just found me here, welcome. Sit and stay a while. As always, grab some yummy snack, a beverage, a cleaning project, a whip. Grab something to do. Hang out with me for a little bit while we talk about what I've got going on. So today I wanted to share with you, I have like maybe three whips, one hoe, and the long-awaited FO. However, like 95% of what I'm going to show you is going to need to be ripped back, tinked back, unraveled in some capacity, unfortunately, and I'll show you why. So let's start with probably my oldest and longest running work in progress. This was so very close to being a finished object, and at this point, by the time it's done, I will have to put it away and wait for the next winter season to start wearing these. This is a pattern called the World's Simplest Mittens, and it is a design by Tin Can Knits, and I have been working on them with, a strand of mohair and a strand of fingering, which it's a hand-spun single, I believe, so it's, looking at it now, at first when I started knitting with this, I just assumed that it was fingering. Looking at it now and having worked with it for almost 2 mittens worth of a project, I feel like it's probably more on the sport weight side of things, or a very heavy fingering. And together, so holding them double together, I was making the DK weight version of this pattern. Now, when I started this pair of mittens originally, I, of course, did not start a project on Ravelry. I took 0 notes. I just assumed, because this is a very easy and very fast-going project, that I would finish the first one, move right on to the next one, and then just voila, I would be done. I wouldn't have to remember things like needle sizes or what size I was making. And I was wrong, because I started the second mitten, and then I realized that plans that I had for gift knitting, I think I made a hat for my brother's girlfriend. I made a watch cap for my husband. Like, these were Christmas gifts, and these projects that were more time sensitive than just a pair of mittens for myself, they required the same size needle that I had been using at the time. So I paused the project, took the needles out, used them, and then I think it was basically the same predicament that I'm in now. Not exactly, time-wise, the same predicament. We got to the end of winter, things started warming up. I wasn't really in need of a pair of mittens on a daily basis for really anything. And so it just kind of, it got shoved in a project bag, and as things do, hidden away and forgotten about. And then I took them out at the beginning of this winter and was like, yeah, I should finish those. I talk a little bit about what spurred that on in my last podcast, having to do with one of my favorite yarn dyers and podcasters, Taylor Earl of Wool Needles Hands, back around Christmas time was doing a really impromptu a knit along for socks. And I just felt like I couldn't justify starting a pair of socks, no matter how quickly it would take me to work up, because they really don't, you know, when I knew that I had these that were just, I needed to finish them. And so instead of socks, I was like, you know, I'll finish them. I'll finish the mittens. So I got, here's the first one. This one's all done. I got to the point where I divided for the body, and I just about there to stitch up the top. However, when I put them on to compare them size-wise, because I went back and forth since I didn't take notes about what needle size I used, I seemed to remember that I didn't change sizes. The pattern suggests using a smaller size needle for the cuff and then moving to a larger size needle for the body, which makes sense. And a lot of patterns that involve a cuff and a body typically do that, just to have, you know, a more snug fitting rib on your project. But for some reason I remember, and maybe I did this with another pair of mittens, but not with this one, I remember not going up a needle size for the body and continuing on with whatever size it was that I used for the cuff. So that's what I did with the second needle. But when I second mitten, when I put them on and I try to kind of spread my fingers apart, it's not quite, there's not as much give. It's much more form-fitting, which may not be noticeable on camera, but for me in person, there's a lot more like, woo, these, and not so much on this side. So, but looking at them, I feel like I can see a difference in the sizing of the stitches. Also, apparently I went longer with this cuff. I don't know what I was doing. Who knows? I do feel like I should have gone up a needle size, and I did not do that. So, long story short, I'm gonna be ripping this out. Back to the cuff, maybe a couple rows back into this, because comparing the length of cuff, oh, see, now they look the same. I don't know, but I know the body needs a little bit more give, and I know the stitch count is correct, but it's just not as stretchy. So, and that's going to be fun because it's mohair. Mohair held together. That's not all, folks, though. Like, just wait. That's not where the mohair madness ends in this great unraveling. The great unraveling of 2023. was so close. But just, I haven't shown this one in a while. And because I finished the FO that I will be showing you, I was trying to get some progress done. So I went back to my birds of a feather. Hold on. The birds of a feather. Maybe someday I'll stop calling it Fine Feathered Friends, but it's Birds of a Feather by Andrea Mowry. I went back to that, and I got almost all the way through on the, is this one, two, three, four, five, sixth, the sixth section. And I think I only have maybe two more rows or one more increase row. But somewhere, I don't know if you can see, at the beginning down here, I was doing my decrease. I moved it over somehow. I was starting the decrease a stitch or two before or after it was supposed to be done, and it moved this. It's almost like a spine that runs up. I don't know if you can kind of tell. It definitely it has a center. You can kind of see it more maybe in the mohair. I don't know. But it's got a spine that goes up a definite center, which is a really cool, visual feature. And whatever I did, I shifted everything over. Just a little bit. But enough that personally, it's enough of a little curve, and I did correct it. I got it back to the center. But I don't like it. And it's kind of, I feel like I could get away with not fixing it. But this is one of those instances where I feel like if I don't take the time to go back and rip it out, put in a lifeline, whatever, and realign where that spine is supposed to be. I was just joking that I really needed to go to a chiropractor. Apparently, so does this shawl. If I don't fix that little detail there, I'm going to notice it every single time I wear it. And it's just going to be like a little eye twitchy for me. Like, I'm just going to, I'm going to know that I was so close. I don't know. This is like it's not that big of a section. Okay. It's a lot of stitches at the end. It's over 100 stitches. But the row count is not that much. And so I think I will be disappointed in myself if I don't go back and I fix it while I had the chance, rather than get all the way through, do the rest of the work, keep an eye on what I'm doing, and then just kind of grumble through it. It's just not responsible. It's not what a responsible knitter would do. So I'm going to fix it. But, it's, at least it's starting to really, I don't know, I'm starting to really see just how giant this thing is probably going to end up being once it's blocked and all that. And it's getting me even more excited. I'm really glad that I picked this back up because I have been wanting to work on it for a while. I've just been trying to get the other things done. So here is number 2. At least this time, ripping this back, it's just going to be the single, which I do need to be careful because singles are not super duper strong. So I do need to be careful. I can't remember if this is superwash yarn or not. I don't think so because it doesn't really look like it's doing much felting. Actually, I have some of this that I don't have caked up, and it still has this ball band. So hold on one second. If you want to hear me talk about the yarn that I'm using in this, you can go back a couple of podcast episodes. It's all Fiber for the People in a Mohair, Yucca, and single. This is called Pear. It does say superwash, so it won't or shouldn't be really felting too much on me if I'm like pulling it out a few times and winding it and all the stuff. So, but yeah, that's my second work in progress that needs to be unprogressed. Boo! It happens. Third work in progress. I am currently making, I think I showed where I talked about the yarn that I was going to use. So I'm using I'm holding together, scraps, yarn scraps. I'm holding together 2 different yarns. Do I have the... Here's one. Is this... Nope. Right company, wrong colors. I don't really remember what the colors are, but it's this pretty... It's very similar to the Yucca, but it's not by Fiber for the People. This is Mohair Kid Silk by Knitting for Olive, and I'm holding it together with this dark gray 100% merino fingering weight, name forgotten, also by Knitting for Olive, and I'm using them to make an adult sized beloved bonnet. The pattern, which I have talked about before, I made a tiny little infant-sized one for my daughter before she was born, and her tiny little head finally has grown into it. And I am making this one for my neighbor, who actually made me the project bag that my mittens are in. She made this for me for my birthday. And she made a really, really cute little baby-sized crib quilt for my daughter as well, which is just so delightful. She's really sweet. For her, quilting and sewing, that's her joyful hobby, just like knitting for me is my joyful hobby. So I thought I'd share the joy, and I feel like she's knit worthy because she knows how much time it takes to make something with your hands, especially as another mother who, don't have a lot of time sometimes. And sewing, I feel like sewing is different from knitting or crocheting because it takes a lot to set up your machine. And I personally have never, I can't get into sewing. I really love it, and I'm waiting for the day that I can, but I can't, without a large chunk of time, do any sewing because I don't feel like I can just stop it and put it down and attend to the needs of whoever needs something quite as easily as with knitting, with anything with yarn. And then to step away from whatever project you are working on and then come back for however amount of time and to start up again, I feel like that's also like it takes a lot of work in remembering what were you doing, although maybe it is easier if it's something that you are used to doing, which I am not. with sewing anyways. Knitting, I don't have a problem usually, unless it's those mittens. I should really maybe take notes on what I am doing. I'll do that later. Famous last words. So yes, I started with this. I've reached the halfway point. I've started decreasing on the other side. I think that's the back. So I've got half a hat. So kind of like that, if you can. And I'm really hoping to have it done before it's too springy. I'm hoping to get this done pretty soon. It's not a super slow moving project, but it's not the fastest one, but at least it's mostly mindless. And the row repeat, it's like four rows, and then you repeat those. Yeah, it's very easily memorizable. I can't remember if this pattern is free or not. I don't think so. I want to say that this is I can easily find that out actually. Let me just see. Let me just look it up. Okay. This is a paid for pattern produced by Tin Can Knits. It is $6 US, and it is, I personally think, worth it. You can make this in so many sizes. It does call for DK weight yarn, and I'm sure that that's easily modifiable if you are willing to mess around with your gauge a little bit. What I'm using is, a lace weight held with a fingering weight. And I don't think I reached full DK weight with this. I would say that this probably put me more so around sport, but it is turning out fine. It's just going to be a bit of a lighter. It weighs almost nothing. Just a lighter weight, not as thick, not super squishy. As the one that I made for my daughter, which I think I used what was the fiber content? I think it was a Merino cashmere nylon blend by Fiber for the People, which definitely was denser and squishier and super luxurious and lovely. And I wish that she would wear it more often, but she really does not like the tie. She doesn't really like hats. Oh well. So that's made a difference, but it's a $6 paid for pattern. Very simple, very straightforward, as all Tin Can Knit patterns tend to be, with very inclusive sizing. As far as heads go, I don't think that there's really too much craziness in that department as far as head sizes, but this is great. I'm thinking if I do have leftover yarn, I may play around with a pom-pom. I think that could be fun with the two differently textured yarns. I think that could be kind of fun. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Thankfully, none of this one has to be ripped out, so that's a win. This one can just continue growing and being, and it will be fine. So since I have an FO, I just had an itch to cast on socks because honestly, I haven't done them in a really long time. I really enjoy socks, and I put them down, well, quite a while ago. I did, not this last year, but the year before that. I tried to do the box of socks, which I was almost completed. I almost did all of them. I almost got all 12. I think it was that the year we moved? I think it was the year we moved, so there was a little bit of chaos thrown in there. But having the time constraint of a year, I didn't like that. I didn't like that part. I definitely prefer being able to just kind of leisurely work at it at my own pace without a deadline or a goal apart from, I want these socks. The last pair of socks that I tried to make, I got all the way to the toe of the first sock and realized that I had lost the mini skein that I was using for my contrasting heels and toes. It still has to resurface. I'm sure it's probably under a dresser or something, but I couldn't complete them because I really wanted to have a contrasting toe that matched the heel. Oh well, so that was put aside. I also wasn't super sure on the sizing. I think I would have been happier if I went down from a size 2 to a size 1, but I was working with a yarn that I'm not typically familiar with. So I went to Joann's recently, which is somewhere that I don't usually go. I don't live terribly close to a Joann's. I don't really feel like driving in to Portland for Joann's. But on a trip home this past weekend, we went there to see if they had a specific yarn that I want to knit my husband a sweater out of, which they had, but they didn't have the right color. So out of pity for myself, I bought some sock yarn. I picked up, I picked up 2 balls of this and 1 of this. This is Celestial Colors, and this is Flax, and both are by Patons Kroy. This is just regular Patons Kroy, and they've got a line that's like FX or something, which does various striping and patterns without, you having to figure it all out. It just does it by itself, and it's magical. And I am making the Broken Rope Socks by Summer Lee Design Co., who, if you are not following on Instagram or Ravelry, she has just the cheeriest sock patterns. Her color combinations are fantastic, and she really just, she knows how to put everything together in a way that just really visually grabs you and stimulates your brain and makes you be like, I need to knit those. Or at least buy all of the patterns and just look at the pictures. So this is part of, I think she had some sort of nautical sock pattern bundle. And they're very straightforward, very, very easy. And I was like, yeah. I really prefer a ribbed sock most of the time, just because I like how they hug my feet and they stay up. I'm not really one who I don't really like slouchy socks. I want them to stay on my feet if I am wearing socks, which I don't often do. So if I do wear socks, they gotta stay up. I was gonna go and she's got a couple different color layouts. One is striped and one is kind of like that classic gym stripe where you've got your cuff in your main color and then maybe 2 thick stripes of a contrasting color. And then, look up a classic gym sock and I'm sure you can get what I'm trying to say. You can picture it just by classic gym sock. Maybe not. I don't know. So I was doing that. I typically, when I have used patents in the past for socks, I am more comfortable using a size 2 needle because even though it is technically fingering weight, it's definitely on the heavier side. So it just the fabric itself feels way, way, way too dense and inflexible if I knit with a size 1 on Kroy. So size 2 it is, and I typically do 64 stitches for a sock, regardless of what yarn I'm using, which is probably why I do prefer ribbing, now that I think about it. But I just kind of jumped right in. I didn't really think about it, and so I was going to use the purple, the Celestial Colors for my main, which I still want to do because it's really fun. and use the flax for the little tiny contrasting stripes. But now I'm thinking that that itself, if I'm going to do contrasting stripes, it probably would be best if those two things were reversed, because the celestial would give it more of a pop, and the flax definitely, it just kind of sinks in more and tones it down. And I'm not really, I don't know, it's just not really doing it for me. So I think I probably, this is another one, I'm going to tink back. It's not that many rows at this point. It's like four rows. It's not that much. I'll tink back. I'll take the flax out. I'll keep it as my little contrasting cuff, which I'm doing a 2x2 rib for the cuff. I just really like the way that looks. I never really make a sock the same way twice. It just is what it is. Unless, I mean, obviously I'll do the pair matching. But all of my pairs are different from each other. So I will go back. I'll take out that one contrasting stripe because I just don't love that. But I'm liking the rest of it. So I think I'm just going to do the body itself in the celestial colors. And I will use the flax for all of the little bits, for the cuff, for the heel, for the toe. And that will be, I think that'll work, because those are solid enough chunks of the project that they're not gonna kind of do weird optical illusions and look like they don't really belong. I think that'll work. We'll see. I'll keep you updated on that one. And now, the moment that I have been waiting for a while. Finally, this was done weeks ago at this point. The Felix sweater. My Felix pullover is finally done, and I love it. It is like ripply and drapey and so luxurious and soft, and I love her so much. But I'm gonna have to rip it back. So this is a pattern that I have never made before, and usually if it's my first time with a pattern, I'll knit it to pattern with that vague question of, I don't know about this, but trust the process. And that's what I did. And it was very, I don't know, I think everything worked out and I really enjoyed it. I really like it. However, I really like where it lands on me. It sits kind of right at my waist, like right above. These are not really high-waisted pants. My belly button is like here. The top of my hip is here. So they're like medium-rise pants. I like where they sit. I like how they would look with high-waisted pants. It's not exactly a crop, in my opinion. It is on the shorter side of what I probably would have been comfortable wearing a couple of years ago. I like how it fits. I like how it fits very much. It has deep armpits, which I don't think I've made a sweater that's had this before. Deep, is it still considered a deep yoke if it's not circular? I don't know. I kind of feel, it's very comfortable. I kind of feel a little bit like a flying squirrel though. But it's very comfortable and it sits very well. It's great for me because I have more voluptuous upper arms, shall we say, which is kind of what gave me trouble when I was making my petrichor sweater. And that's a whole nother story. I had to redo the math on that whole entire thing. to fit me. Now, because the yoke is deeper and ends lower, the body itself, I think that I was only supposed to knit like maybe 15 inches from the bottom like of the armpits to right before the cuff. And that flew by. I don't know if it flew by because it felt like there really wasn't that much to go after that, or because I was also in the process of alternating skeins. I don't know. And I'm trying to remember if I knit all 15 inches. I feel like I did. But here's the problem, and I don't know if it's just me. Because not that anybody else on the internet who made their Felix sweaters is posting pictures of them wearing them with like their arms up above their head. But if I reach up, like, there goes my, like, for reference, hello, there's my sweater. Ooh, there's my sweater. And so I'm over here, I'm trying to figure out, okay, so how often am I doing this motion? Is this going to be a problem? Is it going to really mess things up? Can I live with this? Or am I going to have to readjust this too? And after kind of hashing it out a little bit and discussing with my friend Bella my woes on this sweater, which I have been so very much so looking forward to, we kind of came to the agreement that I should probably take out the ribbing on the bottom and with what I have left, try to add just a little bit more length to the body itself. And I say that because in my heart of hearts, hey Penny, and I only say that because if I were to go the whole 9 yards, if I were to really, really fix this, hey girl, I would have to most likely take out my sleeves, which were by far the fastest part of this whole sweater, and none of the sweater went by slowly. Take out the sleeves, take out the whole body. My dog's back there on my bed. And then go to the raglan increases and probably stop, because you knit, once you're done increasing, they wanted you to knit X amount of inches just straight stockinette without any increases. And I probably would have to take that back like an inch or inch and a half so that it ended closer to here to give myself more room to easily move my arms up and down without my whole torso being exposed. I will say, when I measured the bust for this sweater, Penny. Shh. When I did the measurements to start this sweater, I was pregnant, and I was wearing normal bras. And now I am not pregnant. And I will say, size in the breast department fluctuates at this point in time. due to nursing babies. Well, just one. And if I am completely honest, if I don't have anywhere to really go that day, I'm either not going to wear a bra or I am wearing nursing bras or sports bras, which are, you know, very flimsy in, like, they're not pushing you up and doing the girls any favors. So that and everything's lower. This is my third baby. Nothing's as high as it ever was and never will be ever again. And I think that may have also something to do with possibly the fit. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Are you done scratching back there? So we'll see. I know that I'm not alone in this in general, not exactly with this sweater, but I started watching this amazing lady. Her name is Sarah, and she has the Black Sheep Knitters podcast, I think is what it's called. And she just started podcasting. She has like maybe 3 episodes. They are all absolutely delightful. She is another rambler, which I can totally get behind. And she finished this sweater, I think it was like the snowflake sweater or something. It was absolutely beautiful, cabled sweater. It also had a deep yoke and I think it was supposed to be more cropped, or at least maybe supposed to be ending at a waistband. I don't know. But she has what she calls a micro torso. Hashtag micro torso, which is what I also have. I have a very, very short torso. And she had the exact same problem as I do with this. You're excused. Thank you. However, she was only using one color, and it was like a tweedy black yarn. I'm using a variegated colorway by Fiber for the People called Custard Punch on an untreated merino also. So even you can kind of see the ends of some of these are starting to, like, I can felt them together, which I don't have a problem with for sweaters. That doesn't bug me. But I do know that the more that I have the ends rubbing on things or pulling it out, the more it's going to agitate the yarn and be stickier and harder to work with. Because the colorway is variegated, I have been alternating skeins just to try to avoid color pooling as much as I possibly can. It's not completely avoidable because nothing's the same. And so my sleeves the color distribution is slightly different than the body. You can tell that from here down, my sleeves are definitely more on the purpley side, and there's less of this really pretty, like, barn owly oatmeal brown dispersed throughout. That also doesn't bother me. But I do not feel like I want to unravel skeins that are being alternated and twisted around while also being held with mohair, which is famous for being like tinkable, unfroggable. Like, it's so sticky and tangly that it is really, really difficult to rip projects out. So between the mohair and then constantly switching every row or every other row, the main color, I know that it will be way too frustrating to take everything out to reduce the armpit length. I just can't do it. So I think what I'm going to have to do is order more of the mohair, which isn't hard. It's just Knitting for Olive is run out of Denmark. I really have enjoyed all of the yarn of theirs that I have worked with, so it's totally worth it. but I'm kicking myself because I almost ordered another skein of the color that I'm using in the last Knitting for Olive order that I made. Instead of just getting, I got just one little donut. I thought maybe I could get away with that, and I did. I had enough with the tiniest bit left over to complete all of this. But that was before I realized that, I'm like close to flashing people if I raise my arms. I will not be praising Jesus in this sweater. So I think I'm gonna have to bite the bullet. The one donut, I think it's 25. Is it 25 grams? Go. One little donut of this mohair is 25 grams, 225 meters. I'm not going to do the math on that at the moment for what that is in yards. It's very affordable, in my opinion, in the fact that just the one donut is like $7-ish. However, because it's from Denmark and I live in the United States, shipping and customs and all of that runs at $15. So it's more expensive than the one little donut of yarn. But I know what I have to do. So we'll see. Apart from that, I am completely in love with this sweater. I just wish that my proportions and my body type maybe fit this design a little bit better. And now I am eyeing all of the patterns that I have saved in my Etsy, my Ravelry library, that are similar to this in the yoke design. So all of these really cute sweater patterns that have a deep yoke. Knowing that if they have a deep yoke, they also probably have a shorter torso. And they probably will fit me very similar to this one. And I probably will have to either heavily modify things to fit my very unique body, because all bodies are unique. Or else I'm going to have to say, sorry, next. I can't make these sorts of designs. And also, that's not a bad thing. I think that it's also really important to know your body type, know your body shape, and know what design elements you need in a pattern to fit your specific body. Because who wants to go through all of the work and effort to make something that you aesthetically like, you love the colors, you love the yarn you worked with, but the fit isn't good. The fit's not right, and you're put off by it every time you wear it, to the point where you're not going to wear it very often. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And it's sad. So here we are. I'm going to try as much as I can to alter this to fit me well without me flashing everybody every time I reach for a cup. And hopefully it will work just with lengthening the torso. We'll see if I do cave to undoing the whole thing, but I really don't want to. That just sounds like a sticky, hairy, fluffy nightmare. Thanks for coming along on another episode and letting me ramble and talk about all the things that I'm going to be ripping out. It was great. It was very cathartic, and I appreciate you being here with me. If you're interested in following me on Instagram, where you can watch my progress or backwards progress in what I am making or unmaking, you can follow me on Instagram at a.rambling.yarn. And you can mourn with me in my lows. We'll get through this. I also always forget to say this. I do this podcast just for fun. This is more like a knitting diary of sorts for myself. I find that it's very fun to go back and look at previous episodes and just see the things that I've made and progress that I've made myself as a knitter. However, if you really like hanging out with me, please feel free to subscribe. And if you want to be notified, I do go a long time in between episodes because I'm a mom of 3. And knitting is my delightful hobby stress reliever. It is not my full-time job. I wish. That would be wonderful. This is also a hobby, and it is not my full-time job. As much as I kind of wish that I could do that. I just don't have the time. That being said, if you hit the bell, you will receive notifications of when I do inevitably drop a long-awaited episode. It was lovely chit-chatting. It was lovely having you. I hope you got some work done on either a project or enjoyed just sitting and relaxing. Until next time. Bye, friends.